Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Kalika and you're going to be nicer to tech support after watching this video. What are we here for then? You ever find yourself in a dead-end job and then you find one that seems almost too good to be true, so you jump on it only to find out it's only marginally better than the dead end you just left? Well, that was my last gig. I was hired to be part of a team that was working as a vendor to do on-site level 1 internal tech support for a major healthcare company. I'd been with them for about 7 months at the point in this incident. An employee calls in because they're having trouble with their account in one of their programs and had previously reported it. I looked over the ticket thinking that maybe one of us had missed something. I noticed the ticket was about a month old at this point, so no ticket notes had been added by the assigned group since we assigned it to them. It's well past the suggested SLA for that group, and we're under orders to only be on call for no more than 15 minutes, so couldn't do too much troubleshooting to try and help the poor guy out. The program was vital to his position, and his boss was starting to get very angry he wasn't able to do his job for a month. I noticed that I was getting close to our call time limit, so I mentioned that I'll send an email to the group asking for an update on the ticket and have them do a follow-up with the caller. You can hear he isn't happy that it's not resolved still, probably because his boss was still going to be mad, but understands that at least I'm trying to help the guy out any way I can. I sent out the email with a CC to my team lead and their boss as well, so they're in the loop of this and do a bit of CYA. The next morning, I got an email from the department head that I couldn't believe, and my cubicle neighbours couldn't believe either. I was being yelled at for taking initiative and helping the caller and how we shouldn't. We all looked at each other and were in complete shock as to what we were reading. My direct team lead didn't come in till later on in the day, so I flagged down one of the other leads that I was friendly with and had him read over the email, and he couldn't believe what I was being yelled at for either. It was at that moment we all realised that we weren't in a tech support role, or even a customer service call centre role, but a glorified switchboard. It was also at that moment that I knew I couldn't last there much longer and made sure my resume was updated and posted on multiple job sites by my lunch break. Turns out that not only did we have that time limit, but the lead's boss told us the most important person is the last one in the call queue, not the one I'm on the phone with. Thankfully, I did get a much better job a few months later, and they know how a tech support queue is handled, one ticket at a time. The most important caller is the one you're speaking to. Don't worry about time limits, just take care of the customer and do take every initiative to do whatever you can to help them. Issues with TeamViewer and how pooping in the shower isn't the approved process either. The IT department where I work used TeamViewer to remote into users' PCs. Most IT staff use the full version, while the host version is installed on all other PCs, RDS environments and mobile devices. In the case of desktops and laptops, the host is pushed on automatically by a software deployment server, and a REG is run to apply certain settings. A security group excludes computers from having this version pushed down. The company recently switched their hardware supplier, which has meant new laptops will be of the Dell variety, rather than Lenovo. As I understand it, part of the deal with the supplier involved getting decent discounts on kit, as long as we spent X amount of money on our first order. Who better to treat with new kit than the IT department themselves? Thus, a large order was placed for a load of 17-inch Dell Precision laptops, kitted out with 512GB NVMe SSDs, 1TB of hard drives, 32GB of RAM, i7 processors, etc. for all the company's developers, infrastructure engineers, and on-call service desk staff. I'm somehow getting one too, as my role is classified as a mobile, even though I've spent maybe 10 days over the last year at sites other than my own, though I guess I do work from home 1 to 2 days a week. The IT team in another office were tasked with the project of building them all. They use a basic image from a WDS environment, which installs the operating system, runs a few scripts, and adds the computer to the domain. And a few applications are pushed down from a software deployment server over the next few hours, and the rest are installed manually. Kinda tedious, but pretty simple. But the team started to have issues with these new laptops. The operating system was meant to be installed on the SSD, but WDS was installing it on the hard drive. It turned out that this was because BIOS or something in the system defined the hard drive as disk 0, and the WDS image was configured to install the operating system on disk 0. Despite it being possible to disable the hard drive in the BIOS, forcing the operating system to install on the SSD, the team chose to go for a slightly more tedious solution. They'd open the laptops up, physically disconnect the hard drive, install the image, turn the laptop off, and then plug the hard drive back in. This was the process that was decided upon, which I saw because I'm included in the service desk distribution list, as I helped them out with automating stuff through PowerShell. The service desk on my side all concurred that this was just a stupid process and they wouldn't follow it if they ever come to building one of these new laptops. But whatever. Not my department, not my office, not my problem. After the team had built a few test laptops, sent them out to a few testers and solved a couple of issues they had encountered, they ramped up production. On day 3, 2 staff deployed images to 14 laptops and figured they could get the rest of the software installed on them on the next day. But the next day, they discovered a problem. They had left the laptops on overnight to install updates and such, and in the process, the host version of TeamViewer had been installed. They tried to uninstall TeamViewer, but were unsuccessful. TeamViewer is already running, please close and try again was the error, or something to that effect. But we have closed TeamViewer. The problem was that a second process runs along the TeamViewer exe. It's called TeamViewer_service.exe, and they never realized this. So their solution to the problem they had on these 14 laptops was to apply a registry edit to stop TeamViewer running on startup, then restart the computer and then uninstall TeamViewer. Once TeamViewer had been uninstalled, they were free to install the full version of TeamViewer, log in with the company license and then continue with the rest of the build. They did this on a couple of laptops and then handed them out to users that were based on their site. But these laptops were soon returned. Why? Because they hadn't put them in the security group that prevents the host version of TeamViewer being pushed down. So the software deployment server had scanned the PC, discovered they have the wrong version of TeamViewer installed, closed the 2 processes, and then proceeded to uninstall it, then reinstalled the correct, or host version. By this time, the users of the initial trial laptops had returned them to the team for fixing as well. By the time the team found out what had happened, over half the laptops they had upgraded to the full version of TeamViewer have reverted to the host version. So they added the laptops to the correct security group, made the registry edit to stop the 2 processes launching on startup again, restarted the laptops, uninstalled the host version of TeamViewer and then installed the full version. They were now 4 days into this project and every laptop they had issued had been returned to them. 4 days and not a single successful laptop built. And they sent out another email to the service desk informing everyone of the new process. But whatever, not my department, not my office, not my problem. Day 5 went well. They issued nearly all of the laptops they had built and started to install WDS images onto more, but towards the end of the day they had a couple more laptops returned to them. What was the issue? The options page in TeamViewer was locked behind a password and the standard password didn't work. This password was used for configuring a custom static password for remote access, disabling the standard password all the PCs in the company have. This is something the IT teams like to have. It also allowed them to restrict the default level of access when sharing their screen, something they liked for when showing other team members something without allowing them access to control their computer, and nobody in the team knew or could figure out what the password was. This password was set by the REG that was run when the host version was pushed down by the software deployment server, and the team didn't know how to revert the changes. In their defense, they did ask infrastructure, who would have been able to supply the REG, but they were fobbed with a non-answer. Faced with no idea of how to revert these registry changes, they began to completely rebuild all the laptops they had built so far, and announced the new process in an email to everyone on the service desk and in infrastructure. It spanned half of one of my screens, but the gist of it was, if a PC or a laptop has the host version of TeamViewer installed, but the user requires the full version of TeamViewer, a full rebuild of the PC or laptop would be required to revert the registry changes made part of the automatic deployment of the host version. Ensure that the PC or laptop has been placed in the necessary security grip to prevent installation of the host version of TeamViewer, else you'll have to rebuild the PC or laptop again. But whatever. Not my department, not my office, not my problem. Nah, I wasn't going to stay out of this one. You see, this is an issue the team on my side had faced. In their team, which actually spanned 3 sites, they had 3 leavers in as many months earlier in the year, and they had encountered a similar problem when building a desktop and laptop for 2 of the new starters brought in to replace the leavers, and they came to me for help. I did a little bit of investigating and spoke to a few of the infrastructure engineers to figure out how the deployment of TeamViewer worked. In the process, I got a hold of the REG file that applied the standard company settings for the host version of TeamViewer. The REG made changes to a load of values and about 10 subkeys, so reverting these changes was simple. Simply remove the subkeys. They'll be recreated when you install TeamViewer, and most of them are likely deleted when you uninstall TeamViewer. Not all, obviously, or the issues above wouldn't have occurred. But there's no need to actually check which ones there are and which ones aren't. Just change each to HKey local machine or whatever to -HKey local machine, and every single change will be reverted, leaving you with a clean slate to install the correct version of TeamViewer on. Thus, my solution to the problem consisted of 6 simple steps. Number 1. Log in as domain admin. 2. Run a PowerShell script to add the computer to the necessary security group. 3. Run a bat to taskkill TeamViewer.exe and TeamViewerService.exe. 4. Uninstall the current version of TeamViewer. 5. Run an REG script that reverts the changes made by the registry to the software deployment server. And 6. Install the new version of TeamViewer. I hit reply to all on the email and put in the path to the above 3 scripts along with a little description of what they do. There were actually 6 files rather than 3. The files for steps 1, 4, and 6 were text files, named after what needed to be done at each step, and the 3 scripts were numbered 2, 3, and 5, simply named Run This. A few minutes later, the guy that sent the original email explaining the process replies to all to say, "Your 6 steps have not been tested and are not guaranteed to work." He goes on to explain that I'm not authorized to dictate what processes the service desk and infrastructure should use, and that his process has been approved by both the heads of the service desk and infrastructure. Cue the greatest email I've ever read, sent to the entirety of the service desk and infrastructure teams, including their managers, an edit from a member of one of the other service desk teams. Pooping in the shower isn't the approved process either, but it uses less water than a toilet flush, making it environmentally friendly, and leaves you with a cleaner finish than rubbing your hole with toilet paper as well. If it works, and this looks hella faster than rebuilding a computer from scratch. Thanks, OP. The on-site service desk team behind me burst out laughing and began to call other members of IT over to read his response, and soon after, the head of infrastructure replied, "While I wouldn't approve with your antidote, I agree with your principle. If it works, do it." That's all the approval I gave the original email sender for his process. I've had a look through the scripts and they look good. The above steps will probably take about 5 minutes to run, rather than countless hours of a full rebuild, but I'll leave you to decide which route you go down. Also, please don't be offended if I opt not to shake your hand the next time I'm on your site. Okay, so that's all for r/TalesFromTechSupport. I really hope you did enjoy it. As always, if you do want to see more content like this, then please do subscribe. My Twitter, Discord, and Patreon links are in the description, and any support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!